What up guys, Fojo here, and today I'm coming to you with a look into why drops from high-end mobs end up dropping with 506, 503 gear score instead of 590 plus where they're usable, maybe why they do that, and why they should move them up to a higher degree. But real quick, if you guys could like the video and subscribe to the channel. More than 80% of you guys are not subscribed, and if you could do that really quick, that would help me out so much. But if you could also leave a comment about what you think about this. Do these mobs need 590 plus drops? And do you think it's a better idea to do so? But really, I just wanted to get everybody's thoughts on what they think about this, and do you think it should be changed? Do you think that these monsters should drop 590 plus items so they're usable, or maybe be moved into a class of 575, 580, something like that, in that range to where they're still usable by players that are close to 60 or somewhere in that range? So my thoughts on this are that when you kill an elite mob in a 55 to 60 plus zone, you should probably get a gear score item that is within your range to use. Especially if it's in a 60 plus zone, it feels like it's kind of silly to get a drop from a mob and not actually be able to use it when it comes out at 503 instead of 590 or 595. But I understand that some of these, they want people to get these drops at a lower level around 50 something and use them while they level up to something else. But the only problem is that most of these mobs aren't going to be killed by anybody that's level 50 to 55. It's only level 60 players that are going to go kill these and get the drops from these, therefore making all their drops unusable. And I learned this over the time while I did my Luck Gear series, and there was a ton of drops that just came out at 502, 503, and were completely unusable because they didn't have the ability to go past 590 and be a useful item for people to use. And what's strange about this is that when you go to a website to look up a certain weapon that they drop or a certain item, the website will show you that the item is supposed to have 3 perks and the ability to drop with 3 or upgrade to it. And again, that is a website, and so it's not from New World itself. It may not be the most accurate information, but they had to have gotten that data from somewhere. I'm guessing it was data mined in order to learn the perks that were on these weapons, because there's no way to get them to drop at a 590 plus in order to see that third perk slot. But the fact that there are elite mobs out there that drop completely useless items is kind of sad, because there are items out there that if they did drop at 590 or 600, they would be very useful items. Level 60 players would go farm those items and be able to use them when they needed them. But right now that's not the case. They drop at 500 and you just delete them because they're not useful to you in any way. You can't trade them to people, you can't give them to somebody, so they're not really a useful item at all in the game, unfortunately. And whereas they could be if the devs and New World decided to make them 590 plus items, kind of like they did with Rattlebones recently and made his drops all 590 plus in order to make them usable for players and sellable as well. Now, I'm not saying that all these mobs in the game that are in these areas need these 590 plus items, but I think some of them definitely do, and they deserve to drop weapons that are usable and not just items to be deleted. We have plenty of those coming from chests and lower end mobs that we don't need more at a higher tier level, to where we spend time getting these possibly great drops, but then just delete them because they're not worth anything. But I do think it's cool that all these mobs have unique drops and unique drop tables that can have interesting equipment drop, but I would really like to be able to use the items that they do drop. Not being able to get to these areas until you're level 60 anyways makes them all pretty useless by the time you get to them. So I think if they were to change the drop gear score to 590 plus on these mobs, they would make a lot more gear in the game be useful. Maybe even if you made it sellable or tradable, that'd be cool too. But really, I'm just looking for feedback on the issue and see what you guys think about it. I think it would be a great change to the game to make a lot of these mobs drop 590 plus gear score, just like Rattlebones recently, because then we can add a lot more weapons to the game and a lot more options for players to use on top of what's already there. And now New World is very receptive to player input, and issues raised by players to get changed in the game and positive quality of life issues. So maybe if we raise an issue with this, they will actually implement it. And I think that would be a great thing for the game itself. It would be another issue where they could fix the quality of life for players, other than to just get gypsum from them, because right now that's kind of all they are. And some of them don't even drop that. But really, I just want to see the mobs in New World have interesting gear that can be usable for all players, and being able to do that would be a really cool change. I would love to see that in New World. But we'd have to raise that issue with the devs and New World to be able to see it maybe be implemented into the game, and maybe they can make these changes and make these mobs more useful to players and have drops that are actually usable for them in game. But I want to thank you guys so much for listening to me talk about some of the drops right now and what I think needs to change about them. And if you guys could like the video and subscribe to the channel, it would mean a lot to me. I really appreciate that. And if you guys could also leave a comment about what you think about this concept. Do you think this needs to be implemented? Or is the system at work right now okay? Or do you think there's a middle ground where it'll work a little better? Once again, thank you for being here, and we'll have more videos out soon. I hope to see you there.